Warning, this content is not for everyone. If you're looking for comfortable, feel-good psychology, this is not for you. What I'm about to share with you is information most people will never have access to. The raw, uncensored truth about how psychopaths think, operate, and manipulate their targets. This knowledge is powerful, and honestly, it's pretty extreme. I've had people tell me this information completely changed how they view every relationship in their life. You might find it disturbing, but for those ready to see behind the mask, this could save you from becoming someone's next victim. So, proceed at your own risk. The uncomfortable truth about who's really dangerous. Imagine walking into a room and immediately knowing who the most dangerous person is. Hint: it's not the loud, aggressive person everyone's watching. What if I told you the most dangerous people are not the ones who show their power openly, but the ones who hide it behind a mask of virtue? The ones who seem the most trustworthy, charming, and supportive? Here's the thing. We've all been conditioned to believe that psychopaths are the serial killers from Hollywood movies. The truth? Most psychopaths never kill anyone. They don't need to. They're too busy destroying lives in ways that are perfectly legal. As Dr. Robert Hare, the world's foremost expert on psychopathy, discovered through decades of research, these predators walk among us. They're often the ones making the rules rather than breaking them. CEOs, politicians, authority figures who quietly pull the strings while appearing completely normal. Knowledge builds empires, and today, you'll build yours by understanding the predator's playbook that 99% of people will never see coming. Trick 1. The neurological advantage. How their different brain makes you vulnerable. Let me tell you something critical. Psychopaths aren't just thinking differently than you. Their brains are literally wired differently. This isn't opinion. It's neuroscience. When you feel fear, your amygdala, the brain's emotional center, lights up like a Christmas tree. When they feel fear, nothing, flat line. Their brain simply doesn't register danger the way yours does. I remember reading about this woman who had a rare condition where her amygdala was damaged. She could pick up live snakes, walk through haunted houses. Zero fear response. That's what we're dealing with here. But it's not just fear that's missing. Here's what the brain scans reveal. The emotional dead zone. Their amygdala shows 18% less volume and significantly reduced activity during emotional tasks. Their prefrontal cortex, the part that controls decision-making, doesn't connect properly with emotional centers. Their reward systems are hyperactive while punishment systems barely function. What does this mean for you? While you're experiencing the full range of human emotions, they're calculating your weaknesses with cold precision. Your emotional reactions are like data points to them. Useful information they can leverage. Pro tip: when someone seems completely unfazed by situations that would disturb most people, that's not exceptional emotional control. It's a massive red flag. Trick 2. The chameleon effect. How they become your perfect match. Have you ever met someone who seemed to like all the same things you do? Who shared your exact values and perspectives? Who felt like your perfect match from day one? Yeah, that's not coincidence. That's the chameleon effect, and it's possibly the most powerful weapon in the psychopath's arsenal. I once knew this guy. Let's call him Mark. Mark had this uncanny ability to become exactly what each person in his life needed. With his religious friends, he was deeply spiritual. With his party friends, he was the life of the party. With intellectual types, he was philosophical and well-read. The scary part? None of these people saw the other versions of Mark. Each thought they knew the real him. Here's how they do it. The identity mirror technique. They study your values, interests, and desires in the first interactions. They reflect these back to you, creating an illusion of deep compatibility. They adopt your speech patterns, vocabulary, and even mannerisms. They position themselves as the unique solution to your specific emotional needs. While normal people try to find compatibility, psychopaths create the illusion of perfect compatibility. Pro tip: be extremely cautious of anyone who seems to match you perfectly, especially early in a relationship. Real connections have natural friction and differences. Trick 3. The love bombing strategy. Creating addiction through emotional intensity. So this next one is actually one of the most effective tactics. And honestly, it's happened to me before I understood what was happening. Imagine meeting someone who treats you like you're the most amazing person they've ever met. They shower you with attention, affection, and compliments. They message constantly. They want to see you every day. They're already talking about the future after just a few weeks. Feels amazing, right? That's love bombing. And it's the equivalent of an emotional drug designed to get you addicted. The addiction formula. They create an intensity that feels like deep connection. It's not. They place you on a pedestal, describing you as exceptional and unlike anyone they have ever met. They push for rapid commitment by creating a false sense of destiny. They make extravagant promises about your future together. The brain chemistry created by love bombing is similar to cocaine addiction. You literally become hooked on the validation and attention. And just like a drug dealer, once they have you addicted, they start controlling the supply, giving and withdrawing attention to control your behavior. Pro tip: real love builds gradually. If someone is treating you like you're their entire world within weeks of meeting you, they're not seeing the real you. They're setting a trap. Trick 4. The gaslighting protocol. Making you question your reality. This next technique is so powerful that many victims don't recover for years after experiencing it. It's called gaslighting, and it's basically psychological warfare designed to make you question your own sanity. Let me tell you about Sarah. Her husband would move her keys, then act concerned when she couldn't find them. He'd deny conversations they'd had just hours earlier. He'd change small things in their home, then tell her she was being paranoid when she noticed. After months of this, she was having a complete breakdown, thinking she was losing her mind. The truth: her husband was systematically destroying her connection to reality. And the scariest part is how common this is: the reality distortion method. They confidently deny facts, even when evidence exists. I never said that. They rewrite history through selective emphasis, omission, and fabrication. They systematically invalidate your emotional responses. You're overreacting. They subtly suggest you're mentally unstable for perceiving reality accurately. Gaslighting is effective because it targets your basic trust in your own perceptions. Once that's gone, you become completely dependent on the psychopath to define reality for you. Pro tip: Start keeping records of important conversations and interactions with anyone you suspect might be manipulating you. Documentation is kryptonite to gaslighters. Trick 5. The strategic intermittent reinforcement, creating powerful trauma bonds. If you've ever wondered why intelligent, strong people stay in obviously destructive relationships, the answer is usually trauma bonding through intermittent reinforcement. This is actually something casinos use to keep gamblers addicted. The same psychological principle that keeps someone pulling a slot machine lever for hours works perfectly to keep victims attached to psychopaths. I witnessed this happen to my friend, an accomplished, brilliant woman who stayed with a man who treated her terribly. Why? Because the rare moments of kindness became more powerful than consistent good treatment would have been. The addiction protocol. They alternate between affection and neglect, creating powerful emotional bonds. They make their approval, affection, or cooperation utterly unpredictable. Through cycles of tension, transgression, and reconciliation, they create biochemical attachments that mimic addiction. They intersperse cruelty with calculated moments of kindness. This technique is particularly devastating because the bond created is actually stronger than normal healthy relationships. They create separate spaces in their lives where no single person has the complete picture of who they really are. You know what's crazy? I've seen people who maintained completely different personas, different friends, even different politics and values, depending on who they were with, for years without being discovered. The compartmentalization strategy. They strictly separate different spheres of their lives, ensuring no single person has a complete picture. They share information strategically, revealing potentially compromising details about themselves early to create false intimacy. They systematically undermine potential critics in advance, especially those who might expose them. They strategically spread information and misinformation through third parties, maintaining plausible deniability. If you're only seeing someone in one context, you're only seeing one facet of their personality. The real test is how consistent they are across different environments and with different people. Pro tip: pay attention to how someone talks about people who aren't present. If they drastically change how they describe the same person to different audiences, that's a sign of compartmentalization. Trick 7. The unearned trust warning sign. How they create instant trust. This last technique is perhaps the most dangerous because it's the foundation for all the others. Psychopaths have an almost supernatural ability to generate trust quickly. Trust they haven't earned and don't deserve. Let me be straight with you guys. I need you to understand how dangerous this is. When someone can make you trust them instantly, they can bypass all your normal protective mechanisms. I remember hearing about this woman who gave her life savings to a man she'd known for just 3 weeks. Everyone asked, how could she be so stupid? But the question should have been, how did he generate that level of trust so quickly? The instant trust formula. They create accelerated intimacy, bypassing normal trust-building processes. They make people feel uniquely understood and appreciated. They demonstrate an uncanny ability to be exactly what each person needs. They position themselves as the solution to problems they've often secretly created. Think about the people in your life you trust the most. That trust was likely built over years of consistent behavior. Psychopaths can't afford to wait that long. They need to hack the process. Pro tip: the faster someone tries to establish deep trust, the more cautious you should be. Trust should be earned slowly, not given quickly. The hidden warning signs. Hollywood never shows you. Forget what you've seen in movies. The real warning signs of psychopathy are far more subtle and far more common. While you're looking for the dramatic red flags, you're missing the real danger signs. The warning sign checklist. Unnatural charm. They generate trust disproportionate to their history or proven character. Boundary testing. They systematically test smaller boundaries before violating major ones. Conversational control. They dominate interactions in ways often misinterpreted as charisma or leadership. Emotional incongruence. Brief flashes of inappropriate emotions appear before being masked. Instrumental relationships. There, friendships and romances provide specific benefits and end when no longer useful. Reality restructuring. They subtly alter others' perception of reality through confident misinformation. Responsibility shifting. They take credit for successes while maintaining distance from failures. Pro tip: focus on patterns of behavior rather than isolated incidents or explanations. Patterns reveal what words conceal. The corporate psychopath. Why they're running your company. You know what's disturbing? Research by forensic psychologist Robert Hare suggests psychopathy rates may be 4 times higher in corporate leadership than in the general population. Think about that. The person determining your career path, your financial security, your daily stress levels. There's a significantly higher chance they're a psychopath than the average person you meet. I worked with someone like this once. Everyone thought he was a brilliant leader, charismatic, decisive, visionary. Behind closed doors, he'd systematically take credit for others' work, sabotage potential rivals, and create problems he could heroically solve. Why psychopaths rise to the top. Their calculated risk-taking is often mistaken for courage. Their emotional detachment allows cool functioning during crisis. Their impression management skills create an appearance of leadership. Their willingness to step on others creates rapid advancement. If this is making you look at your boss differently, well, I can't say I blame you. Pro tip: in toxic workplaces, the most successful people are often the most willing to sacrifice others. In healthy organizations, success and ethics are aligned. The intimate predator. Why they're sleeping next to you. I need to talk about the most devastating manifestation of psychopathy. The intimate partner, who targets specific individuals for long-term exploitation. This is the husband who systematically isolates his wife from friends and family. The girlfriend who creates financial entanglements that make leaving nearly impossible. The partner who makes you question your own sanity. These relationships can last for decades, with targets experiencing severe psychological harm, while the psychopath appears to outside observers as a devoted partner, the long-term exploitation strategy. They extract resources gradually, often through legal entanglements like marriage or joint ownership. They erode their target's identity, replacing it with a version dependent on their approval. They construct an alternative reality where the target feels both trapped and undeserving of escape. They systematically separate targets from support networks that might help them leave. If you know someone in a relationship where they've changed dramatically, lost their spark, or become isolated, they might not just be in a bad relationship. They might be targeted by a predator. Pro tip: healthy relationships enhance your connection to yourself and others. If a relationship is cutting you off from your true self or from people who care about you, that's a serious danger sign. How to protect yourself: building your psychological immunity. Now that you've stuck with me this far, I'm going to reward you with the most valuable information. How to actually protect yourself from these tactics. The truth is, complete protection is impossible. These strategies have evolved precisely because they're effective. But you can dramatically reduce your vulnerability by developing psychological immunity. The Protection Protocol. 1. Build boundary immunity. Replace automatic trust with earned trust. Match self-disclosure to the actual depth of relationship. Apply boundaries uniformly rather than making exceptions for charm. 2. Anchor your reality. Keep records of significant conversations and agreements. Regularly check perceptions with trusted others. Focus on behavior patterns rather than isolated incidents. 3. Recognize manipulation attempts. Be aware that extreme positive attention early in relationships often serves manipulation. Evaluate requests by asking, "Would this seem reasonable if asked by someone I didn't particularly like?" Familiarize yourself with common tactics like false urgency and forced reciprocity. Maintain support networks. Keep connections across different life domains. Establish consistent communication with trusted individuals. Remain open to concerns expressed by others about your relationships. 5. Develop appropriate responses to warning signs. When you spot potential patterns, deliberately slow down commitment decisions. Match your withdrawal to the level of risk you perceive. Recognize that explaining your concerns to a potential psychopath only helps them refine their approach. The strongest protection comes from within. Developing self-worth that isn't dependent on external validation makes you naturally resistant to many manipulation tactics. Pro tip: the most important question to ask yourself is, does this relationship make me feel more like myself or less like myself? Healthy connections enhance your authentic self. Exploitative ones diminish it. A final warning: knowledge is power, but only if you use it. I've shared techniques and insights that took researchers decades to uncover. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people reading this will recognize these patterns, maybe even in their own relationships, and still do nothing. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. The most dangerous people aren't obvious threats. They're the ones who make you trust them, care for them, even love them, while systematically using you for their own gain. But now you see behind the mask. You understand the game being played, and you have a choice: to continue as before, or to look at your relationships with new eyes. If you've recognized some of these patterns in your own life, you're not alone. The comments section will likely fill with people sharing similar experiences once they recognize what's happened to them. Remember this: psychopaths count on your silence, your doubt, your unwillingness to acknowledge what's happening. Breaking that silence is the first step toward freedom. If this video has made you rethink the people around you, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We dive into topics that challenge the way you see the world and help you navigate it more wisely every single day. Because in a world of predators, your greatest protection is knowledge. Watch this again. Share it with someone who needs it. And remember, the most dangerous people aren't who you think they are.